The movie begins with Ito, who is tearfully saying goodbye to her friends. She is about to leave the city and start a completely new life in a different house with a new father. Well, not exactly a real father, but her mother's husband. That means she now has to move in and live with him and his family. When Ito finally arrives at the house, she assumes that her stepfather might have 1 or maybe 2 children at most. But to her shock, she discovers that there are 4 boys living there, and all of them are younger than her. In other words, she has suddenly become the older stepsister to 4 different boys. On top of that, each of them has a completely different personality. The only thing they all have in common is that none of them really seems to care about her presence. The next morning, Ito wakes up early and decides to prepare breakfast for everyone. While she is serving the food, Ginny looks at her and says sarcastically, "Don't act like the big sister here. You and I are basically the same age." Ito immediately replies, "Excuse me, I'm older than you by 1 whole day. That gives me the right to be the older one. But anyway, forget all that nonsense. Just eat your breakfast quietly." After the 3 boys leave for school, Ito prepares another tray of breakfast and walks toward the room of Shen, the mysterious brother who always stays locked inside his room and never opens the door for anyone. She knocks again and again, but when she finally loses hope that he will answer, she simply leaves the tray in front of his door and heads out to go to her own school. By pure coincidence, however, she ends up walking with one of her stepbrothers on the way. Suddenly, he grabs her hand and quickly pulls her away before anyone at school notices them together and starts asking questions. After finishing their classes that day, the brothers stop by a supermarket to buy a few things the house needs. While they are there, Ben suggests to his brother that they should help their new older sister make some friends at her new school. But the brother shrugs and says, "Mind your own business, she might turn out to be crazy." Later that evening, they return home, and Ito prepares lunch for everyone. Each of the boys takes his plate and disappears into his own room. Ito can't help but feel worried about Shen, the one who always isolates himself. At that moment, Ginny tells her casually, "As long as he eats breakfast, that's good enough. Don't overthink it." Ito looks at him in disbelief and says, "How can you say that? Aren't we a family? We should care about each other." But Ginny responds coldly, "We're not a family, and he's fine. He eats, doesn't he? What more do you want?" The next morning, Ito wakes up early again and goes downstairs to prepare breakfast as usual. But this time, she finds Ginny already standing in front of the refrigerator. She rushes over, snatches the food from his hands, and says cheerfully, "Don't worry about it. I'll make breakfast for you." After finishing breakfast, she starts washing everyone's clothes and cleaning the house. The only person who seems to show her any sympathy is Ben, who complains to his older brother, "At the very least, you should thank her. She works around the house like a robot all day." But Ginny becomes annoyed by Ito's behavior and confronts her, saying, "Can you act a little more normal?" Ito answers calmly, "This is actually how I've always been. I'm not doing anything new." But Ginny snaps back angrily, "Are you stupid or something? Do you really think we'll be happy if you do things nobody asked you to do?" Ito lowers her head and says quietly, "I don't think so. But anyway, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding." Then she quickly runs upstairs before anyone can see the tears forming in her eyes. A little while later, Ben comes to apologize on Ginny's behalf. "I'm sorry if Jin treated you harshly. You know, we've never had a sister before, so he doesn't know how to deal with one. And ever since our mother died, he's taken on the role of protector. He keeps everything bottled up inside." Later that day, Ito goes to the supermarket to buy ingredients for dinner. There, she runs into Ginny again. She approaches him and says kindly, "Let me help you carry those bags. They look heavy." He sighs and says, "I was hoping to make you all a nice dinner, but never mind." As they walk home together, Ginny admits that he feels bothered watching her work so hard just to please them, making breakfast, cooking lunch, washing, cleaning, doing everything just to earn their approval. Ito nods and says softly, "You're right, but it's okay. What's done is done." When they return home, Ginny insists on cooking dinner himself. Everything goes smoothly at first, until he flips the food from the pan and accidentally burns it badly. Embarrassed, he tells everyone, "I'm sorry I stepped into the kitchen. Tonight's dinner disaster is on me." But Ito quickly smiles and says, "Why not just turn the food over and eat the other side? Let's pretend we didn't notice." Then she runs after the boys, trying to force them to eat anyway. During all of this, Shen is quietly watching them from a distance without anyone noticing. Eventually, he gets bored and disappears back into his room. The next day, Ito gathers the boys and says excitedly, "Since we're all free, how about we go somewhere together during the summer vacation? It's our first holiday as a family." But the three older boys immediately avoid her. Even the youngest, Ron, apologizes and runs away, saying he's busy. Ito sighs and mutters to herself, "So the only hope left is that gloomy, miserable guy upstairs." She quickly writes a note and slides it under Shen's door since he never talks to anyone, but the paper soon slides back out with one word written on it: impossible. Confused, Ito goes downstairs and asks his brothers what exactly is going on with Shen and why he locks himself away all the time. She admits that she hasn't even seen his face yet, but they simply reply, "That's between him and us. Just don't do anything reckless with him, especially." The following day, Ito is working in the garden when the intense sunlight suddenly makes her dizzy, and she collapses. When she wakes up, she finds herself inside the house with a fan blowing nearby. Someone has also placed cold compresses on her forehead, and for the first time, she sees Shen. Surprised, she says, "So you're Shen, the one everyone talks about?" But he answers bluntly, "You've got the wrong person." Then he immediately turns and runs back upstairs. However, Ito refuses to let him go that easily. She grabs some drinks and follows him. The moment he opens his door again, she quickly slips inside before he can close it. She starts walking around his room, giving her opinions about everything, even though he never asked. Finally, Shen says calmly, "If you came to thank me for earlier, there's no need. I didn't do anything special. Honestly, I'm such a coward." Shen continues speaking, his voice trembling with shame. He admits that he is terrified of talking to strangers. Because of that fear, he couldn't even call an ambulance when Ito collapsed, even though her condition had been very dangerous and she clearly needed to be taken to the hospital. "I'm not the kind of person anyone can rely on," he says bitterly, just like everyone always says. But Ito immediately shakes her head and replies gently, "On the contrary, you're the one who saved me. If it weren't for you, I might already be dead." Her words leave him stunned. For a moment, he can't even respond. Instead, he slowly sinks to the floor and begins crying quietly, overwhelmed by emotions he has kept buried for so long. After a while, he turns to his favorite escape, his online game, and begins playing as usual. But suddenly, Ito appears inside the game world with him. Smiling, she says, "I thought you might be here, so I kept searching until I found you. Yes, this is the first time we've really met, but honestly, this meeting is long overdue. After all, I'm supposed to be your older sister. So what do you say? Should we become friends?" The two of them spend a long time talking through the game. At one point, Ito begins to worry that she might be bothering him, but Shen reassures her that he simply gets nervous when people are physically close to him or share the same room. "I'm afraid I might say something wrong," he explains, "something that might upset them." Later that day, Jin returns home, but finds the house unusually quiet. Curious, he goes upstairs and knocks on Ito's door. When she doesn't answer because she is completely absorbed in the game, he finally opens the door and walks in without waiting. Seeing her playing with Shen, he immediately frowns and says suspiciously, "So you're secretly getting close to my brother behind my back. Are you trying to take advantage of him?" Ito quickly apologizes. "I'm sorry for going in even though you warned me not to. It's just, I really felt sorry for him." Jin shrugs and replies bluntly, "Don't worry about it, I never really considered you a proper young lady anyway." Then he explains that earlier that day he had gone to Shen's school to speak with his teacher. What he discovered shocked him. The teacher barely knew anything about Shen. He had never approached him, never talked to him, never tried to participate. "All this time," Jin says quietly, "I thought I was protecting him." He remembers the painful days when Shen used to attend school and was bullied and beaten by other students almost every day. Jin had always been the only one who stood up for him and defended him, but Shen eventually felt that Jin's constant interventions were only causing more trouble for everyone. So Shen made a difficult decision. He stopped going to school altogether, hoping that by removing himself from the situation, he would stop creating problems for his brother. While Jin is lost in these memories, something unexpected happens downstairs. Ito suddenly jumps up with excitement. She has finally won a game. She rushes out to celebrate with Shen. For a brief moment, he forgets his social anxiety and shares the happiness with her. But the moment he notices Jin watching them, embarrassment washes over him and he quickly retreats back into his room. This time, however, Jin follows him inside. He sits down beside his younger brother and begins speaking softly, trying to encourage him and build up his confidence. But Shen shakes his head and says gloomily, "Don't make a big deal out of it. It's just a game." Jin stays beside him anyway. After a moment of silence, he finally apologizes for everything that happened in the past. He confesses that he has wanted to ask for Shen's forgiveness for a long time, but never knew how to say it. "You could have ended up just like us," Jin says quietly, "but you're not like that at all. You're different. You don't want to hurt anyone." Hearing this, Shen becomes deeply emotional. Tears begin streaming down his face as he remembers everything he went through. Jin pulls him into a comforting embrace and says, "I'm only realizing now that I'm the one who caused you so much trouble, not the other way around like you always believed. I hope you can forgive me." Shen shakes his head gently and replies, "It wasn't your fault. Back then, I was happy that you protected me. I'm not angry with you at all." After the long moment of tears and hugs, they each return to their rooms. But Ito, who secretly witnessed Shen coming out of his room and sitting with his brothers again, even if only for a short time, feels incredibly happy. For the first time, it feels like the family might finally be healing. When summer vacation begins, the siblings decide to take a trip together to the village where Ito once lived. Everyone goes, except Shen, who chooses to stay home and study for his entrance exams so he can return to school again. When they arrive at the village, Ito runs into one of her childhood friends. She rushes over to greet him warmly. Jin, however, seems irritated by the boy's presence and keeps his distance throughout the day. The friend, however, doesn't take it personally. Instead, he quietly tells Jin something important. She's not the way she seems. She and her mother suffered a lot after her father left when she was young. If you ever decide you don't want her here, just tell me, and I'll bring her back to live with us again. We care about her very much. Later, the group decides to play hide and seek. Everyone runs off in different directions to find hiding spots. By pure coincidence, Ito and Jin end up hiding together in the forest. Neither of them wants to move and risk being caught. Ito keeps glancing at him awkwardly until he finally notices and says, "What's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me like that? Watch your attitude." Embarrassed, Ito stands up to leave, but when she hears someone approaching, she quickly crouches down again and accidentally falls right on top of him. After that incident, she becomes extremely awkward around Jin and starts treating him with obvious caution. Eventually, the other brothers notice the strange tension between them and begin to suspect that something might be going on. Jin pulls her aside and says seriously, "Please just act normal. Nothing happened that deserves all this drama." But Ito doesn't see it that way at all. Somewhere along the way, she has begun to develop feelings for him, and she's too afraid to admit it. One day, Ben approaches her and asks directly, "So, are you planning to confess your feelings to Jin or what?" Ito sighs and answers nervously, "But I'm your older sister now. I don't even know what the consequences would be if I fell in love with him. Besides, we finally helped Shen come out of his shell and start studying again. I can't ruin everything now because of a reckless decision." She smiles faintly and adds, "Anyway, I'm happy like this. Taking care of all of you is enough for me." A few months later, Christmas arrives. The whole family gathers together to decorate the house and prepare food. But despite the cheerful atmosphere, Ito looks extremely nervous. Jin notices and walks over to her, narrowing his eyes suspiciously. "You're hiding something," he says quietly, "and you're scared to say it." But Ito immediately denies it and tells Jin, "No, this has nothing to do with you at all." He shrugs and replies casually, "All right then. Let me help you with making this stuffed food first, and later we'll talk about that thing that supposedly has nothing to do with me." She sighs, then suddenly blurts out the truth. "Fine, I'll say it straight. I love you. There, I said it." Jin looks stunned. "Wait, seriously? You love me? Give me some time to think about it, and I'll give you an answer." From that moment on, Jin spends days thinking about it day and night. He keeps going back and forth in his mind until he finally makes a decision. At last, he approaches Ito and says carefully, "I honestly don't know how to say this, but I've been thinking about it the whole time. I didn't want to hurt your feelings, The truth is, I think this is impossible. I can only see you as a member of the family. I hope that doesn't upset you or change how things are between us." Ito forces a small smile and replies calmly, "No, it's fine. I thought about it too and realized it wouldn't work anyway. But thank you for taking the time to think about it. Nothing will change between us. Don't worry." Months pass after that awkward moment. Then comes Shen's first day back at school. Ito becomes extremely attentive toward him, walking with him all the way and encouraging him so he won't feel nervous. Watching this makes Jin strangely irritated. He even complains to his brothers and asks them to warn Ito about possible consequences. But Ben responds honestly, "There are no consequences. You're just jealous because Shen is getting all of Ito's attention." After school ends that day, Ito runs out excitedly to walk home with Shen, but Jin suddenly appears in front of her and stops her. "Don't you think you're overdoing it a little with how much you take care of him?" he asks. Ito answers warmly, "Not at all. My heart is completely devoted to looking after him. I just watch over him while he goes to school and when he comes back." Her words irritate Jin even more. "So you only think about him now?" he snaps angrily. "Just get out of my sight. You're so stupid." Hurt by his words, Ito walks away quietly. Shen notices her sadness and keeps asking her what's wrong during their walk home. She insists nothing is wrong and claims she is simply nervous because she has university entrance exams coming up. But Shen doesn't believe her explanation. When they finally reach home, he tells her seriously, "I'm not completely strong yet, but I promise I'll become stronger soon. I'll protect you from anything, and I'll never forgive the person who made you this sad." Ito smiles softly and thanks him. "Thank you so much. Hearing that makes me really happy." Meanwhile, Jin is also sitting at school feeling miserable and unable to understand himself. When his friends ask what's wrong, he says, "I don't know why I'm thinking about her now, after it's already too late. I don't even know why she's on my mind." One of his friends laughs and replies, "It's obvious. You're probably in love with her." Later, when Jin returns home, he finds Ito asleep on the couch, exhausted. He stands there quietly watching her for a while, wondering to himself, "Do I really love her or not?" But he walks away without finding an answer. What Jin doesn't realize is that Shen has just returned home at that moment and secretly saw him sitting beside Ito. Shen says nothing, but the next day at school he approaches Jin privately and asks him directly, "Be honest, what do you feel toward Ito?" Jin responds coldly, "Nothing. I don't have any feelings for that short girl." Shen immediately becomes angry. "Don't talk about her like that. She's very kind and she helped all of us. I wish I were older." Jin avoids answering by turning the question back on him. "You like her too, don't you?" he says. "But you're just running away from it. I don't understand why you act like that. The truth is, you simply lack confidence in yourself." Shen becomes furious and punches Jin hard enough to leave his face swollen. Later, when they return home, Ito notices the tension between them and asks, "Why did you two fight?" But Jin refuses to explain. "This is our problem," he says. "We'll solve it ourselves." Instead, they decide to settle their conflict with a challenge. They agree to compete in a school game, and the winner will have the right to make a request that the loser must obey. The next day, they participate in the group competition. Ito watches nervously from the side, unable to decide which of them she should cheer for. In the end, Shen wins. Although he injures his leg during the game, Jin takes him to the first aid room, and there Shen says quietly, "If you hadn't saved me from falling earlier, you would have been the one who won." Then he continues seriously, "Anyway, I want you to go home calmly today. I love Ito, and I'm going to confess to her." Jin silently changes his clothes and leaves without saying anything, but when he arrives home, he is surprised to find Ito already there. The moment she sees him, she says happily, "Why are you so late? I've been waiting for you. Shen asked the two of us to cook a delicious meal to celebrate his victory. Come on, let's hurry to the market before it gets too late." Jin stands there for a moment, completely confused by everything that's happening. His mind almost seems to freeze, but eventually he just goes along with her. As they walk toward the market, they chat about random things. Then suddenly Jin blurts out the truth he has been holding back. "Listen, I love you. Not just as a member of the family. I love you more than that." Ito stops walking, surprised. Then she smiles and answers, "I love you too, Jin." After that, they continue walking as if nothing unusual happened. Jin says cheerfully, "All right, let's hurry and buy the ingredients." But Ito laughs and tells him, "Slow down a little, you're walking too fast." He grins and replies, "I'm walking normally. You're just short, so you have to run to keep up with me. Come on, run faster." When they return home, the family gathers in the garden and starts grilling food together. They spend the evening laughing, playing games, and enjoying each other's company. Eventually, their mother hears all the noise and comes outside to scold them for making such a mess. Ito quickly apologizes with a smile. "I'm sorry on behalf of my little brothers." And with that warm moment of family laughter, the film comes to an end. If you made it all the way to the end of the story, don't forget to like the video. And if this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future recaps. See you next time.